Great to see everybody today. Pile in. Happy Thursday live office hours with Coach Andy, your dear coach, who just entered his 60th year of life. I coming back to work today with you after my birthday yesterday. And the reason I mentioned my birthday is, well, because I love to celebrate birthdays because I just think the alternative isn't nearly as cool. But we do have a major sale going on today only. We've got giveaways. I'm going to be giving away lots of stuff. So pile in. I've got a little bit of a different show today. I want to talk to you about some books that are very, very special to me, the meaning of my life and how they've shaped me. And I've been wanting to do something like this for a very long time. There's lessons wrapped in all of these books. Maybe you can add a few to your shelf. So get in chat, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Carlos, great to see you. Elena, Fox, Michael, say hey to you. And Elaine, Thomas, what's up? Edward, how are you? Yunli, Alfonso, thank you for the birthday wishes. Sue, AG, from Kauai. Oh, jealous, Amanda, I'm jealous. A. Starker, thank you. Thanks for the birthday wishes. And thank you for all of you who emailed me yesterday or DM'd me, or those of you that have my phone number, texted me. I read and responded to everyone. And if I haven't gotten to your message on social media, I will, because I read all of those because it just brings me joy. Okay, speaking of joy, we are gonna talk about books today. Before we do that, let me know where you're watching from. If you have any job search related questions or career development questions, we're going to do our usual Q&A after I run through these books. So put some question marks in front of them. If you're a boot camper, let me know that, or a leader. We've got a lot of things coming up for you this month, and I always like to cheer you on. With that, let's get rolling. So today I wanted to talk about a number of books, 10 specifically, that are very meaningful to me in my life. Now, I love when influencers actually share books they've read, whether they're health books, finance books. A lot of self-improvement is always on my shelf. And I like when they run me through them. And I could probably run you through these books in 10 minutes. But I don't want to do it that way. I want to share with you a list of books that truly transformed my life because of the trajectory that they put my life on. And the lesson is there inside each of these stories that I want to share with you, because I think that the story itself will apply to your life, even if you're not interested in looking at the book. So I'm going to run through 10. I might have a couple of honorable mentions that I sneak in. So maybe there's a dozen or a baker's dozen here, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. So buckle up, and I'm going to start with the first one. And it was Wednesday, November 26th, 1997. I'm pretty sure I got that date right. You sort of don't forget days like this. It was a Wednesday. It was the Wednesday of Thanksgiving weekend, and it was snowing like crazy in my town. And I had been managing a project with a lot of people at a consulting company that I worked for. I was doing a project for an oil client of ours, and we were working nonstop, 7 days a week, from early in the morning till 10 p.m. at night. We probably were working, 8 to 5 on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was a real grind. And I needed a few hours just to get my head wrapped straight. And I told my team, I had 12 team leaders. They all had a bunch of people that reported to them. So it was a pretty large project. Why we were working all those hours is a whole nother story. But it was Wednesday, and it was about midday, right after lunch. And so I was in a Barnes and Noble in near where I lived at the time, and I was standing in line, and in line in front of me had to be no less than 15 people. Now I had my arms are not very big, but I had books in this arm and books in this arm, and I was probably using my hips to hold them. I got a stack of books because every night at 10 o'clock I would drive home, I would crawl into bed, and I would pull a book out, and I would read until I fell asleep, and I'd get up and I'd do the same thing the next evening after I worked a long day. So I'm standing in line with absolutely nowhere to go, but my impatient self at the time, I was 31, and I'm not as evolved as I am now. And I was huffing and puffing like, all these people are in my way. And why are all these people here? I'm the only minutes that I have a free time of myself, and I was wound tighter than a top. And as I leaned over to see how many people were in line in front of me, there was this pile of books on the floor, stacked maybe, I don't know, yay high, maybe a few feet, but I didn't see it. I wasn't paying attention. And I'm like, what the hell are these books doing on the floor? And I knocked over the entire pile. So I put my books down on the floor. I bend over to clean up the pile, and it was Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff by the late, great Richard Carlson. I had never heard of him before. I didn't know what this book was, but I obviously wasn't going anywhere. So I pick the book up, and I start leafing through it. And then I start reading the titles of the chapters. I'm like, I need this book. So I put the copy on the pile. I ultimately made it to the checkout, got in the car, got home, read the whole book that afternoon, and then got back in my car, drove back to the Barnes & Noble and bought 12 copies for my team leaders. And I mean, we literally would have like book club, and then there was the flip charts and the calendar charts. And, they came out with things that look like, that look like this, and we bought all that stuff. And anyway, this really, while I had always appreciated self-help, I was learning more about myself and the areas that I really needed to improve. And so I think this book is what really, really got me to fall in love with self-help. So I absolutely love this book. And I've bought many more of his. And he died at, I think, 47 years old, which is a tragedy because of all the great material he's put out. So Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. This is number one. And by the way, I probably should have said this. I'm not necessarily going through these books in the order in which I read them, but I grouped a few of these mindset and self-help books up front because I really, really enjoy these. So that's number one. The book that absolutely made me become a Wayne Dyer disciple, and this may very well be, if not the best book I've ever read, definitely one of the top 3 to 5. And it's called You'll See It When You Believe It. I've read this book no less, cover to cover, no less than 6 times or 7 times. And I've read pages 181 to 206 no less than probably 30 times. And there was a period, and I'll explain what those are. There was a period in 2022, I remember waking up every morning, meditating, and then the first thing that I did was I wiped off my calendar for my morning activities. I have a very regimented morning routine that works for me. But I changed it so that I could read those pages, and I read them every single day for 2 weeks. And those pages, while this book is really about the manifestation of your life and that what you want to come into your life, you need to literally see it first. You need to believe that it will be there. You need to have faith in making it happen. You need to work toward it. But what this book really, really did for me that I couldn't figure out and no other book could ever do until I saw this, was he talks about the 7 attachments that really cause suffering. And I want to spit them off really quickly so you understand what I mean. And his belief, Dr. Wayne Dyer's belief, is that you become attached to things, and that these attachments that you have physically or literally or spiritually or mentally or whatever are what cause your ruin. And so to rattle them off, you get attached to stuff, to people, to the past, maybe like your traditions, to your form, to the body, to your ideas and being right, to money, and to winning. And so those pages 181 to 206 really talk about these 7 attachments. There's no other book I've turned to more. And I looked at this book the other day, and there's a number of pages that are dog-eared. But what really brought a smile to my face is there's different color underlines and markers and highlights based on the year in which I read the book. I would always take it with me on vacation, especially if I was going somewhere sunny and was going to sit around in the sun. But anyway, this book to me, I think I've read every book of his that I remember. My shelf is filled with his books. They're all fantastic, but this book to me is like it's top shelf, pun intended. I mean, it is really, really good. Now, One other author who also, another self-help mindset book, that I'm so disappointed he only wrote this one book. But Harvard professor Daniel Gilbert, I think it's Harvard, wrote this book called Stumbling on Happiness. Daniel Gilbert. It's an upside down bowl of cherries. And I'm pretty sure it's Harvard. But if not, forgive me, Mr. Gilbert. But this book is so unbelievably awesome. And the punchline or the main message in this book is that as you look out into the future, you will never be as happy or as sad as any event you would have imagined. That's basically the book in one line, although that wouldn't do it justice. It really helps you understand, those of you that have children, could you ever imagine a loss or a death? Or somebody who's married, to imagine divorce? Or somebody who wants to get that promotion or earn $100,000 or a six-figure salary or a seven-figure salary or an eight-figure salary a year. You will never be as happy or as sad as you imagine. And the reason that you will never be as happy or as sad is because it is impossible to project your feelings into the future, because into the future will be a different you. You will have learned things, you will have loved things, you will have lost things, you will change the way you think about things, and you can never simulate what you will be like in the future when that happens. So why bother? But this book, much like the Dyer book, you'll see it when you believe it. These two are so near and dear to me, but also probably two of the top 5 books I've ever read for what I enjoy, right? And what I'm sharing with you today are all nonfiction books, but obviously, novels and those kind of things, I don't read them anymore. I did it at one point, but I'm so invested in my development that I spend my time reading. My reading is for pleasure, but it is always for education. So those are the first 3. Now, this next one is a really good book, and I was living in a condominium between 2004 and 2017, and in 2007. Toward the end of the year, I believe it was December, I walked down into my foyer area to get my mail. I was just taking a break, gonna stretch. So I go down the stairs, and in the kind of the main mezzanine level was my mailbox, but on the floor there was this book, Made to Stick, and it's written by Chip and Dan Heath. Now, if you are in sales or marketing or any kind of storytelling or social or whatever, and you have not read this book, you are behind. Consider yourself behind. It is a phenomenal book with the tagline, "Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die." Now, how this changed my life. When I read this book, I got this book from a friend of mine who's since passed on. It says, "Andy, here's to continued success, business and personal, Mike Christie, December 2007. And so he gave me this book, and a great man and a great entrepreneur. I'm just going to apologize in advance for the waterworks. I'm never going to make it through this without getting choked up. So he gives me this book, and business owner, run a real estate development company. So the main thrust of the book is about why some ideas and stories survive and become memorable. And the Heath brothers had a methodology that was 6 stages that showed you the characteristics of stories that stick. They are simple, unexpected. There's a concreteness to them. They're credible, emotional, and then they're wrapped in a story. So this book in and of itself is a dang good book. And I wouldn't call it one of the top 10 books I ever read, but it's a masterful piece of work. But the reason that this book is important to me is because I took this little note. This is a dog of mine. since passed. Ridge was my dog at the time. So I had this Ridge notes pad on my desk. So as I got done reading the book, I reached for this note, and I said, as I coach my job candidates for their interviews as an executive recruiter, I would prep the job candidates for their interviews. I said, I need to use the Heath brothers, the backbone of their methodology, as the methodology that I use to teach job candidates. So I literally would prepare individuals for their jobs that they would go in and talk to my clients. And I made what is known to many of you now is the interview intervention methodology of storytelling, where instead of that simple language, it was really about keeping it simple. The unexpectedness is capture and keep their attention. The concreteness is talking their lingo. The credibility is make them believe you. The emotional aspects is getting them to care, and the story aspect is getting them to act based on your inspiration and becoming memorable. And this note card is what I would use, and it sat on my desk. And so between 2008, 9, and 10, and almost into 11, I would continue to talk this methodology to individuals. Now, some of you that have read the Zebra Code, you know that I articulated this way of coming up with new ideas that are spawned from things that you see. I call it el aliqua, out of something, as opposed to el ex nihilo, which is, or it's ex aliqua, out of something, as opposed to ex nihilo, out of nothing. But great ideas are spawned from things that you see, and they're around you all the time. So what was happening as I would coach individuals and they would tell me how much they enjoyed this methodology, I knew that at some point I would need to put that book together. And although Interview Intervention was not the first book that I wanted to write, it seemed like the thing to do, especially during this time. Now, any of you that are old enough to remember what the end of 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11 were like, for any of you that think that this is a tough employment market, I want you to imagine an employment market that was a total meltdown, where I had reached out. I went out online and posted an ad for a personal assistant, a job that would be likely $10 to $12 an hour. I received 503 applications, and I was getting people with bachelor's, master's, PhDs, probably people earning $200,000-$300,000 a year that wanted to take a $10 job to be my assistant. And that's how bad the employment market was. Now, as an executive recruiter at the time, we didn't fall off. We made some smart moves. We kept grinding, but I still absorbed the emotion of the people that I coach and train and recruit and all of that. So I was going through some personal things in my life. I had gone through a breakup in 2010 of a 14-year relationship. I had just gone through another breakup of a year relationship in 2011. And I realized toward the end of the year that I needed to do something differently. And I thought, if I could write a book, and even if it would help me to, number one, do something different. Number two, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know anything about the publishing industry, but I do know that if I can package this up, at a minimum, I could give the book or the ebook to my job candidates and have them read what I've been sharing with them verbally. That would take me like an hour to prep them. So Interview Intervention, number 5, between Friday, Thanksgiving of 2011, and I started writing, and I wrote each morning for the next 5 weeks. And then on January 2nd, the book was done. So it basically took 5 weeks to package up this book that now many of you, not to mention another 250,000 people or more somewhere in the world, have a format of this book, whether it's an ebook or a paperback or a hardcover. And this book really, it truly changed the trajectory of my career, because it was the first piece that put me on the path, not just to helping more people, but really becoming a trainer in this format. And so when a lot of you look at things in your life and you don't necessarily think anything of it, I have this story and another story that is really, really going to change the way you think about everything that goes on around you. The world The universe is sending you signals day in and day out. History is calling you, but are you paying attention? And so you got to be looking for the signs. You got to be looking. And when you get in a grind and everything that you're doing seems to not be working, or you're not making progress, or nothing is changing, or you're not catching that break you want, you got to change your pattern. You got to change your pattern. And while at the time my business was going pretty well, I was definitely not in the right frequency with my universe. And so this book and writing this book really got me out of that. And so this combo is incredibly special to me. Number one, this book gave me the ideas that then were implanted here, and they have evolved since. But it's helped a lot of people. And so I know that a lot of you have this, and we still to this day, we give this book away for free for if you kick in a few bucks for materials and handling. So that rounds out the top 5. Now, there's another book that I have a similar story. In 2013, in August, I had given a speech to about somewhere between 300 and 400 collegiate students. They were scholarship students that were given these scholarships by the Western Golf Association. And they were having a career day, and I was invited to be the keynote speaker. And so without going into a lot of details about this, I had been contacted by the project manager who was running the event. She said, Andy, we're really looking for somebody who will inspire these kids. We want you to speak on leadership for life, setting and accomplishing your goals. That was the topic. And I thought to myself, well, A, I don't really have any goals, and B, what the hey am I going to tell these 18 to 22-year-olds when much of what they're focused on right now is schooling, and I don't really want to talk to them about how to get through school or something that's going to be super short-lived. So I thought about it, and for about an hour a day for a week, I basically penned a talk that I gave them. The talk was 47 minutes. It was about how to get everything you want out of life and have fun doing it. So I wanted to make them something that was ageless, it was timeless, it was genderless, professionless. It didn't make any difference. It would transcend all of that. And so I gave that speech in August of 2013. A handful of months later, I was having lunch with Jim Vasilopoulos. Some of you may know Jim from the Leadership Podcast. He's also done some guest appearances on my podcast, and he wrote a book called Clarity. He and I would get together about once a quarter. We would just, because we're friends, we would talk about life, love, work, whatever's going on. And he asked me what I was doing, and I had just some things that were special that I had done over the quarter that since I hadn't seen him. And I told him about this speech. And then he'd asked me what the topic was and what the format was. And then he asked me whether I had ever heard of This Is Water. I said, I haven't heard of This Is Water. He said, well, do you know who David Foster Wallace is? And I said, I did the Infinite Jest Guy. The book's like 1,000 pages. Colorful, creative guy, very smart. He said, yeah, he gave a speech to Kenyon College in 2005. This is before he killed himself. And it was a very inspiring speech. It sounds like what you gave was a lot like what he gave. And so he said, I'll tell you what, I'll send you this video, this YouTube clip. It's about 10 minutes. Some advertising agency took a portion of his speech and made a montage of, kind of B-roll of it to the audio. So he sent me the link to the YouTube video. I absolutely loved it. I ended up buying the book as an ebook. I read the book and I loved it, and I wanted to physically see the book. So This Is Water. You may or may not be able to see this simple book, but this book is not only is it an amazing piece of work, it's epic. It is truly transformative because he gives this speech, which was probably 20 minutes, and it's about not how to think, but that you have a choice what to think about. And much like the Dyer book, I've probably read this book 36 times. I've listened to the audio 3 dozen times. It is so important for us to understand how to turn off our automated way of thinking, to get out of ourselves and realize that we are not necessarily the center of the universe, even though we process the world that way. But the way in which he explains it is so amazing that I got it, I read it, and then I looked at it and I said to myself, this is a great format. So why don't I turn the speech that I gave into a book? And so my friend Laura said to me, well, they gave you, they had the audio on their website. So we downloaded the audio. She put her earbuds in. She typed it all out for me. And this book, Out of Reach But in Sight, Using Goals to Achieve Your Impossible, is the 47-minute speech that I gave to the Western Golf Association. Every month, I get the royalties from the Amazon. I self-published this. All I cared about was wrapping it in a book. I ordered 150 copies of the book, and I took them to the country club that I belonged at the time, and I gave them to the caddies, which are the students that become eligible to get these scholarships. So all the caddies got a signed copy from me. I literally signed them all for them individually, and it just. This book, you could read this book in a half an hour, or you could listen to the audio if you have my audio. But anyway, the same kind of thing. The idea that my friend planted in my brain, that then I looked at this book, and not only is this book just incredibly amazing, but it also gave me the idea to just package up the speech. I used Amazon at the time. The Amazon had this self-publishing platform that you could use called Create Space. I got my cousin. We threw a cover together, and the book sells every month. And it's light reading, and it's more of a motivational than a how-to book. But this book also became a course called the Goal Setting Masterclass that's even more detailed. But anyway, this is the book that really did that for me. Next, I want to switch gears to money. So when I was 30, I had been working really hard to save and invest my money. I had been doing it for 8 years on my entire professional life, even before that, even when I was in high school and in college. And at this time, when I was 30, this book, The Millionaire Next Door, came out. Now, it is one of my absolute favorite financial books because it talks about the mindset of the millionaire. And there is a reason, and this is according to the Ramsey Group, they've done surveys about professions that become millionaires. There's a reason engineers are the most popular millionaires, and accountants and teachers, yes, teachers, and other business managers and people of that ilk, because there is a method and a practice to becoming wealthy. It is not about having the bank. It is about making the money that you're getting work for you. And this book really cemented a lot of the things that I was doing at that time. But I would say this is the book that probably got me to fall in love with financial books. Now, I've done a financial talk before. I've done a leadership session or two on personal finance. I've also talked about money books that I absolutely love. This might not be my absolute favorite money book, but it was the one that really steered me in the direction and kept me going as what the authors and Thomas Stanley calls a prodigious accumulator of wealth. It has more to do with what you do with your money than the amount of money that you earn. So this one has a special meaning. I've given this book away to dozens of people. It's, obviously it's almost 30 years old now, but it is a big help to those that are interested in personal finance. I also like, if you're interested in other ones, The Only Investment Guide You'll Ever Need by Andrew Tobias. I do love The Psychology of Money as well. I like A Simple Plan to Wealth by J.L. Collins. So there's a number of good ones. And then when it comes to my health, I don't feel like there is anything that is a higher priority than my health. Nothing is a higher priority. My relationships matter to me. My vocation matters to me. You all matter to me. My friendships, all of that, my siblings, my puppies. But I can't be the best me unless I'm in great shape, meaning mind, body, spirit, And I didn't know what it meant, truly, truly meant, to eat right and take care of yourself until I read this book, Good Energy. It's relatively new compared to the other books I've shared with you by Casey Means. I've read probably, 70 to 80 books on health, diet. I've tried different formats of diet. I don't diet to reduce calories or anything like that. When I say diet, I'm talking about the formats of the foods that I put in my body. Once I understood all the rules of metabolism and metabolic health, my entire existence changed. I mean, I went from high energy to super high energy. I went from healthy to super healthy. I don't have one hangnail or a pain in my body, and I put my body through hell. Not just working out, but I'm talking about just the way I attack my work, just the mental energy I expend, the physical energy I expend. When you understand how to evaluate foods, what will work for you, and how it's registering, my whole life has changed. So I've been on a very strict diet since early in December. So let's call it 9 full months. And I have never felt this good. And I've gone through detoxes before, but I've never felt this good, this alert, this razor sharp, this physically sound. And I'm 59. And I mean, I feel amazing. And so what Casey Means does is she educates you on the metabolic health, helping you understand what it is, how you get it, how you lose it. But then she also breaks down the tests that you ought to and how to evaluate them, the foods and how to evaluate them, and what the foods do to your body. And so for those of you that know my diet, I subscribe to her philosophy, what she calls, if you can get rid of the unholy trinity, it will truly, truly make the hugest difference. And the unholy trinity is refined sugars, refined grains, and seed oils. And so there ain't any of that in this house. And my wife eats pretty much the same way. We have virtually the same kind of diet. And I couldn't believe the transformation in only a short period of time when ultimately I reduced sugar. Now, I don't eat candy bars and things of that nature, but when you strip out all the refined grains and all the carbohydrates that generate that sugar in a format you don't want, it really, really not only transformed the way I feel, but also my body composition. And I know obviously you only see me here from the chest up, but it really makes a huge difference. So this is the best book I've ever read on this subject, and it has given me new insight into what it means to eat right. All right, next book. This book, yes, it's my own book, but this book is hard to describe what this book did for me and means to me, because there are Interview Intervention and Out of Reach but in Sight, and even The Hiring Prophecies, which I didn't mention, my third book. Those books are written on a very narrow subject. But to try to bring form to what I think is the most important, not to mention most complex aspect of our vocation, our lives, your career is a big part of your happiness. And while many people want to get by on doing the minimum, making the maximum, earning the maximum, I wanted to try to create something special for those that truly wanted to give it their all. And I took what I thought was the most complicated problem. I took 36 years of experience. I tried to build it into a methodology that people would understand, and then give them the very, very best lessons to help them. And the book itself it's really hard to describe all the skills that you need to draw upon in order to bring something like this to life. Now, bringing a book to life is not the toughest thing in the world. But if you want to solve a problem that has been unsolved by billions of people, and you want to create it into a format, you have to sell it to somebody in order to get it published. You have to draw on your experience in order to build the methodology. You have to draw on skills to write it. But the other thing is the level of discipline that it takes to put a 100,000 word book in in play while you are also working full time and then some and trying to run your business and do all these other things. And then there's the skills that it takes in order to come up with the individual lessons. There's the discipline it takes to show up every day in the darkness, in the private time where it is dead freaking silent, where you are driven by a level of discipline that nobody could ever see or imagine. And what you do to call upon yourself to show up when no one's watching, and then to record the audio, and then to try to market it, and all of those things, and then continue to help people understand how it'll change their lives. It draws a lot out of you. And so what this book did for me was this is without a doubt the toughest thing that I ever had to do, put into one thing. And when you could do something like that, where you show up every day when no one's watching, you'll know what you're made of. So this book, this was a rough one. So I hope you enjoy that one. Now the last one, this is something I came to new recently. So one of the things that you probably get the sense of, even if you haven't seen this, but even if you just showed up right now and you saw some of my YouTube videos, you see the way I teach, you see the way I approach life, you see the way I answer the questions. I have not had trouble finding avenues to improve myself. Training programs, books, all of these things that the books, the lessons are easy to find. And so knowing that I can improve something if I could just keep working at it, that's one thing. But I'm a searcher, I'm a real dreamer, and I want answers. And I will go to any length to try to find them. And so one of the things that has always escaped me is why I am the way I am. So I can improve myself. I can write books. I can become a better writer. I can become a better teacher. I could become a better communicator. I could become better at audio, visual, and any of this stuff. I mean, I could always figure that out. I could become more empathetic. I could become more focused. I could become more organized. But I couldn't figure out why I am the way I am, and I was looking for answers. And so I discovered this book by Michael Newton called Journey of Souls. It's lives, I don't know if you can see it, case studies of lives between lives. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to think, what to feel. I was raised Catholic and always taught certain things about the afterlife. But I'm very open-minded, and I do pride myself on being open-minded, because if you're open-minded, not only are you a lot less stressed, but you are also able to take in information and evaluate different perspectives. So you'll have better perspective, you'll have more wisdom. And so my wife and I were talking, and she said, "Have you ever heard of this book?" And she said, "I'll buy it for you." I said, "Okay, great." So she bought it for me, and I read it. And Michael Newton is a therapist who didn't believe in reincarnation, didn't believe in having multiple lives. He thought it was a bunch of hogwash. He said, but he started to see this pattern of people he was trying to help as a therapist through this regression therapy, and that these people were coming up with the same stories, that after they died, there was a certain process they went through. I won't go into all the details, but the punchline of the book is that we have lived many lives. And he describes what happens with your soul, and he describes the process of being reincarnated, and all of the things that are associated with how souls are managed, how they live, what they think, how they are, and that we as incarnated humans are basically, these are my words, maybe not his, but like a vessel for your soul, and that your soul is very, very interested in evolution, and that he went so far as to say that your soul even chooses the life that you are living now. There's a soul contract and so on. Now, I'm not saying you need to believe this, and I'm not saying that I believe 100% of all of this, but I am greatly interested in why I am the way I am, and maybe what my soul is trying to work on through this life. And so I'm learning more and more about it, but this has really opened my mind to the afterlife. And I will tell you that, and my wife has gone through past life regression therapy. I have had a session of past life regression therapy. It is greatly interesting. It is very intense, but it is, and I'm sure that a lot of people will think it's hogwash, and that's okay. I'm just sharing with you that I'm open-minded enough to look at this, and who knows? My Uncle Frank used to say to me, Andy, if the heaven and hell thing, if there is no God, that's fine. But, isn't it better that you're a good person just in case there is? I don't know, where my soul is going to go after this life, or if I've, lived many lives. I don't know any of that. But what I do know is I'm open-minded enough to look for the information to help me see, is there something possible that I could learn that might help me understand why I am the way I am. I don't know why that is. I just wanted to share that with you. The book itself, it did take me a number of sittings to get through it. And the first half isn't nearly as good as the last half, but I stuck with it because I was greatly interested in the information. He goes through 29 case studies. There is a lot of information. I think another book my wife got me was Many Lives, Many Masters. I haven't read that yet. And other ones like this. There's lots of stuff on YouTube that I've come to really enjoy on the topic. And it's really taught me a lot about why I could be the way that I am. But it's just more information for me to become a better person, to fulfill my mission in life, my purpose. Why am I so driven to want to teach you and help you? It's uncommon. I don't know where it comes from. No one around me is like this, and no one in my family is like this. So it's rare. So I'm always looking. So anyway, this was number 10. Just kind of going backwards. The zebra code was very meaningful. You want to be healthy, and don't yell at me if you start taking stuff out of your diet that you love. The Millionaire Next Door for the finances. Obviously, This is Water this is one of my this is definitely one of my top 5 books. And then obviously it helped me spawn my little goal setting book. Let's see what else going backwards. Interview Intervention. I hope you have this one. Made to Stick is really great if you're telling any kind of stories in your life. Daniel Gilbert. This book is mind-blowing and fascinating, as is the Dyer book. You'll see it when you believe it. And then Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. So those are my 10, or maybe there was a couple extras in there. Kara has hopefully been putting the links in along the way. I don't know if she's been doing that. And then also in the description of this YouTube video, there will also be links to the book. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know it was a little bit different. I wanted to try to get it done in 45 minutes, which seems like I did. So I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe add a book or two to your library or your shelf. And just really, I hope you have fun with reading. One thing that I will say, I'm actually reading this book right now, Stolen Focus, by Johann Hari. I think it's Johann Hari. It's an amazing book that just is. I happen to be about halfway done with the book, and one of the things that he said is, we're reading less and less, but we're remembering less and less, simply because of the digital age we live in. But that people that actually read physical books retain so much more information, like 20 or 30 or 40% more information than those that read on digital devices, because of a number of things. Because when we're reading on a digital device, we have a tendency to want to scan for the highlights. There's a number of other things. But anyway, I'm all about making sure that I'm managing my attention. We don't manage time, we manage attention. And so I'm always looking for ways to better do that. So that's what I happen to be reading right now. I love that book too, so maybe put that one on the pile. But I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did like this, please click the thumbs up button. Share it with people who are book lovers. Like I said, add a few to your own pile. If you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching on a recording, I'll see you next week. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. those are very, very, meaningful to me, as are a whole lot of other books. I do read a fair amount, and I feel like somebody took the time to package it up, got a lot of wisdom to offer, and so I could add all their years of experience to my own in a few hours. All right. I would love to know any of your favorite books. By the way, I look at this chat. I will watch the whole thing. I will look at all your recommendations and all your questions and all of that stuff. So if you've got some books that you absolutely love, please put them in the chat for me and for everybody else. One other thing. Okay, couple things. It's my birthday yesterday, which I mentioned, so we're going to give some training courses away. But I do want to let you know, we do have specials on my job search coaching program that I do run reasonably often, where I give $300 off the interactive service package or the VIP package. Today only, if you want, I'll give you an extra 100 for my birthday special. Kara, can you maybe put that in the chat where there's a B-Day special coupon where you can get 400 off. We don't offer this very often, if ever. So if you want to take an extra 100, if you've been on the fence about getting in my job search coaching program, it's my signature job searching program. Have at it. And I'm not going to be emailing you about this. I'm only sharing it with the people who came to the live office hours and wanted to share the book session with me. But if you're interested, please click the link and grab it. All right. Let's see. Tracy A., what books did you read can recommend on becoming a better writer? I am using your tip of blocking off time in the morning to write my research paper. I love it. Okay. So let me think about this, because I have purchased some books. One book. Okay, so I don't read a lot of books about writing mechanics. Okay. I read books on messaging, meaning I've been taught in my life solid grammar, and I've taken training programs in my corporate life to help me with writing. So much of what I do to improve as a writer is understanding the reader, understanding the goal, understanding the format of how I want to deliver the information. So a book like this made me a better writer. You follow me? Because it helped me understand how to tell stories. Another book, I got to get this for you. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it real quick. Okay. This book by Bo Eason, There's No Plan B for Your A Game. This book talks about how to become the best of the best and how to set a 20-year goal and how to approach it. So when I read books like this, it helps me become a better writer. There's a book that was written in the 1920s by Graham. Wait, let me get it. Look at this book, Graham Wallace, The Art of Thought. So this helps me with idea gen and how you create great ideas. His formula is different than mine, but how you schedule the marination of the idea. It's just amazing. So when I'm looking to become better at anything, rarely do I read a book that says this is a writing instruction manual. So I don't do those things. I would read books that are more mindset oriented, or that were more service oriented, or how to become more empathetic, or self-awareness books, or whatever. That's what I do on how I improve my skills. Trent Jackson, I love my job. I love the impact I have on I love the impact I have on company, but I have an extremely toxic boss. Our attrition rate is under than 50%. I'm assuming you mean over 50, all leaving because of her. I've tried for a year to improve the situation, but it's not improved. I fear it's hindering my professional growth and the perception of how people view me. What are steps I can take to negotiate a change in who I report to? Okay, wait. This is a great question, which is why we're going to give Trent Jackson a free $500 course because it sounds like you are struggling. And one of the things that I would do is whenever we get into a situation, there's what we can control, there's what we can't control, there's mitigating the situation or doing something differently, and then there's the backup plan. And so one of the things that I would say is first peck order of business, you approach your boss. You approach it and you approach her in a manner where you are trying to help her, and you want to do that by having her help you. What do you need from her? I need your help. I need your guidance. I need your support or whatever. That's the first line of approach, and having a conversation with her to see if you can relieve some of the toxicity. And then you give her a chance. The second order of business is you want to go to your boss or her boss. And it's not a great move, but if you do it in the right manner, it can be effective. And you've got to be able to say, I do enjoy working with her. I want to try to maximize my performance and my support of hers. I'm trying to. But if you go and you just complain, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So you got to be very, very careful. Now, if you were sitting here, you and me, I could give you the exact language that I would want you to tell her and her boss, based on some interactive dialogue that you and I could have. But in the absence of that, you're going to need to think through how you're going to approach that. But if you go in aggressive, it's not going to fly. Then the other thing is you could request somebody else, but is there a guarantee that somebody else is going to be better? Is there another area that you can go in where you can add more value? I might try to go to somebody and try to appeal to them that you could add value in the other area and that you are greatly interested in going into the other area, as opposed to making it personal about your boss. That's another line. The other thing I would do is perhaps you want to grab my job search challenge that we'd give you that for free. It's $500 as a way of bringing yourself to market and looking for your backup plan. But that is a difficult process, and without knowing exactly where you sit, where you would go, those are the general approaches I would try to take if I was gonna try to move bosses. TD Washington, Andy, a while back you were reading a book about focus by Don DePani. What did you think of it? I'm having problems focusing and looking for guidance. So the book is called The Power of Unwavering Focus, and I really enjoyed it. Try it. Tom, boss hunting is working, but no offers. Okay, wait, that's good that it's working. Get cultural fit excuse, not competency. How find what doing wrong in interview or targeting or age issue, director customer success in any industry. Okay, so maybe we could give Tom a course too. He's struggling. Couple things. When you get into an interview, you obviously have credentials, meaning because you're getting interviews. And so if they're telling you you're not a great cultural fit, you must be sending some signals in the interview about what it would be like to work with you, and it's not jiving with them. Generally speaking, generally not always, this comes through as a likability factor, meaning, do you seem warm? Do you seem congenial? Would I want you on my team? And so the first thing that I would point you to, just based on the limited information you've given me, is there a way to work on those communication skills inside the interviews? I don't know if the boss hunting is yielding a recruiter interview first, where you are getting screened and then you're going to the boss or the hiring official and then they're telling you you're not a cultural fit. If the recruiter is telling you you're not a cultural fit, then that's a real problem, because if you can't get past the recruiter, then it's definitely a likability factor. So I'm going to be working on my communication skills. Now, not knowing exactly what you're saying in those interviews, it's hard to determine how I would approach it, but I'm guessing that it is not a skill set issue, right? As you're saying here. And I don't know if age is an issue. I don't know how old you are, but also while ageism is a thing, there's no doubt about it. It isn't insurmountable. So if you can dial up the other things pretty well, you usually can overcome it. Dan, I was asked an odd question that threw me off. I was applying for an internal role, which would have been a promotion from my current position. What would you do if you did not get this role? So I love this question. And I want you to know that one of the greatest ways when you're interviewing somebody to figure out what kind of go-getter you have is, what would you do if you failed? Okay, that question is, what would you do if you failed? Okay? And so if now you've got a specific scenario, so you know me, there's a formula for everything. So any of you, when they smack you on the knee and the foot goes up like that, you did not, anytime you hear a did not happen, did not get, did not hit the goal, did not whatever, it's you failed. How are you going to handle the failure? It's automatic. It doesn't matter how they ask it. Okay. So everything in my life is designed to teach me. So if I didn't get the role, I'd inquire about if there was any feedback that you have about any particular areas that I had skill gaps, if that was the rationale. Or if I will also self-reflect to determine, could I have performed better in the interview process? Could I have better communication, made a better presentation, been more prepared, whatever it might be. And I would look for any of those opportunities that give me insight into how I can improve myself. And then I would start working at those things, because obviously I'm interested in this kind of role or elevating my career. I'd want to improve myself. But when I go back to my other job, I'm going to do that to the best of my ability, because that also is a reflection of my performance within this organization and also supports my ability too, right? So everything is very positive. What can I learn? Any of you go on dating sites? Any of you go on dating sites? Okay. Any of you dating? Here's some dating advice. If you get on a date, all right, this is the same thing, and I ask you, hey, Dan, in your last relationship, what did you learn about yourself? It's the same question. I just gave you the same question. So what do some people do? Well, I know I don't want to go out with people like that anymore. Okay, it's about it's their fault, right? I asked you what you learned, what did you learn about yourself? What might you do differently? Something like that. And so what you need to program yourself that the automatic response out of your mouth is to take responsibility, own it in a positive manner, and everything is about your growth, your faith, and you'll be where you're supposed to be, and so on. I really learned this about myself, and that I need, there's opportunities for me to be a better whatever, right? You'll go on and date that person. So anyway, it's all the same. It's all the same. Okay, Kara, what, do we got any good books? Tracy A, I read High Performance Habits. That's a good one. I'm just looking up as you send me more questions. Let's see. Any poetry or writing by John O'Donohue? One sentence from one of his 7 books. May all that is unlived in you blossom into a future graced with love. I love that. I'm just scrolling up the chat here. Good to Great. I read that. Beautiful by Jim Collins. Jim Stockdale's thoughts of a philosophical fighter pilot. Full catastrophe living? Read Full Catastrophe Living? Using the wisdom of your body and mind to face stress, pain, and illness. That's interesting. All right, let's see. Medina. Hi, Andy. You're such an inspiration. Well, thank you. I'm glad I can help you. How did you keep going without giving up? How did you know this was your calling? And what would you tell Andy 25 years ago? Happy belated. Okay. So wait. So I love this. Okay. Medina, if you have the zebra code, for any of you, wait, I'm going to answer you, of course. In this book, in chapter 20, I believe it's chapter 22, right at the end of the book. I can't remember if we put it after. I think we put it right at after the very, very end. Before you go, part 10, and it's on page 309. And see this? I don't know if you can make this out. It's my gift to find your gift. Okay. And in this chapter, the audio book of this chapter is 11 minutes. So that portion. And I believe that the way we find our gifts is that we evaluate our lives. We look at ourselves, go all the way back to birth. Okay. So as I went through school, as I went through grade school, high school, college, as I got into my job as at what's now Accenture, but at Anderson Consulting as a consultant, and then where I went on to a couple of other companies, then Milewalk and so on. You look at the common theme. And even though I was an engineer and then an information technology consultant and a management consultant, and then we'd run projects and then I'd run business units, the thing I always enjoyed most about my job was helping people. And even as a student, as a kid, I would always help others with their homework, as you might imagine. And I didn't know I was going to become an educator, but that to me was always something I really enjoyed. And when I was implementing technology solutions, I didn't really care what the technology solution was. I really cared about helping the client, helping my staff or the people around me or my customers, and educating them on whatever it was, how their life was going to change, how we could improve it. Same thing with as a recruiter. As I went into that phase of my life, there was helping the job candidates, even the ones we didn't recruit or couldn't recruit or didn't put forward. And then there were the clients we worked with, and always educating them at a maximum level. And so your gift is something that you do with what I would say, or what Steve Harvey would say, is the thing you do the best with the least amount of work. But the Andyism with that is, I don't want you to do the least amount of work, because to be the best and to truly aspire to attain your calling or fulfill your mission, you are going to need to grind it out. You are going to need to work really, really hard. So while I feel I have worked really, really hard to hone my skills, and while teaching is fairly effortless to me, there's nothing effortless about all of this. And so I look back and there's a common denominator, and you will know what you truly enjoy. But wait, there's a catch, because it isn't discover your passion and then follow it. That's idiotic. You'll go broke, right? There's just, if your passion is to play a football, be a professional football player. Well, think about how many people are actual professional football players among the 8 billion people that walk the planet, or a rock star or whatever. It's like, figure out what you're really talented at. Start to earn a wage. Figure out how you can apply that through what you're doing, and then keep going and don't stop. And typically what will happen, I was good in math and science, but I really cared about people and helping them and being a good communicator. So I used what I had to get into an environment where I could thrive, earn the paycheck, and then learn more about what was possible, meaning how could I add more value to this world. And so your passion and your mission will reveal itself the more you're at it. But if you are not evaluating and looking at things with the proper lens, it will be difficult for you to discover it. So when I looked back and I could reflect when I was 38, 39 years old and I wanted to open Milewalk, I knew that helping people was the thing I liked doing more than anything that I did. So becoming an executive recruiter got me one step closer to being able to help more people and leverage the skill sets I had with helping businesses and my sales and marketing and fulfillment skills. And then as I kept going, I realized that I would never be able to reach as many people that I could think benefit from what I know by doing it as an executive recruiter. I could only help so many people. That's very, very hard. Time was a huge constraint. And all of us wrestle with time. We all have the same amount. But when I coach somebody, it's an hour. I can only coach one person. When I can sit here now, there's still a bunch of you on this session and a lot more that'll watch this in a replay format. So I had to figure out how do I use what's available to get me that much closer to my mission of helping more people. It's all in chapter 22. And you listen to the audio. It's my favorite thing I've ever written in my entire life, that chapter. So I hope that helps. But and then not stopping, that's just discipline. Discipline kicks in when the motivation is gone and there is no negotiation. The difference between a hugely successful person and everybody else is they simply do not have an off switch. And I mean that in a good way. There was no negotiating. The alarm goes off, you get up, you come down here, you start writing, period. Some days it's going to be crap writing. You show up, you sit here. Do you know that every Thursday, my goal is to just show up, right? Yeah, that's goal number 1, show up. And then goal number 2, give them a heck of a show, teach them, inspire them, and so on. Do better, I do better every week, but showing up is a big deal. How many other coaches have you known, career coaches, that had office hours that would show up and then they would burn out and then they couldn't do it? No, because the mission is bigger than I am. Me helping you is bigger than how I feel and whether I'm tired. So then I have to figure out ways to make sure that I'm peaking at 11 o'clock on a Thursday. Or I get into the zone as fast as possible when I start writing at 4:30 or whatever it is. Because at 4:30, 4:31, you're not in a zone. I'm still like jamming the coffee down my throat. So, but it's discipline. And that's the other thing. Discipline is when you take away all the self-negotiation. It is not negotiable. That's how you win. I just wrote a line for you, Kara, that I haven't sent you yet, which is you become unstoppable by not stopping. So for any of you that are tired and fatigued, you got to keep going. That's a great question. Let's see. Is it Edan? Oh wait, Edan Palash. I don't know how we're separating those letters there. What's the best way to delay a job offer while keeping? Actually, Medina, you know what? I think you're in my leadership program. So Medina, grab a $500 product. Grab some $500 product that you don't have. And then Item Palash, I don't know what. Let's get Item Palash, whoever you are, email support@milewalk.com to claim your prizes. Another $500 product for you as well. I see you're a leader, so maybe grab something on my job search. And remember, the boot camp's $400 off today. So you can click those links or email Kara to get the coupon. What's the best way to delay a job offer while keeping the hiring manager happy and opening up a conversation about a freelancing gig instead? Okay, so I'm assuming what you mean is you with that hiring official, you want to open a freelance gig. And I don't know if you actually got the job offer already. If you didn't get the job offer, you could say, I'm open to freelancing if that would be more, a palatable arrangement to you. I'm a little bit surprised. It's okay to go into an interview process and then realize freelancing for you with them is a better option. That's fine. And you can say, I'm open to freelancing or I'm open to a job offer. If you're telling me that you're trying to, you know what? I'm not even sure what you're asking here. If you don't want them to give you a job offer, then say, would you be open to a freelancing arrangement? If they've given you the job offer already and you don't want it, say, I think it might be better if we get into a freelance arrangement to, either to make sure that we're the right fit for each other or whatever. Now, I don't love that either because it's already looking like you don't feel it and you're getting skittish and you don't want to commit. But those would be the options that I would try. And I wish I would understand, like, if you have other things going on, if you have other opportunities, that would be helpful. But see if you can make some hay out of that. Sue, Andy, I wonder what book comes to mind to recommend to a 12-year-old or the types of topics. Well, a 12-year-old could probably digest my Out of Reach But in Sight book. It was written for people that ain't much older, but I mean, it's written for everybody, but it was written for an audience that wasn't much older. So that might be one. I don't have kids, so I'm not up on what the books are that are coming out these days that are geared toward the youngsters. Brad, after not being selected for a role, I sent a professional thank you each time and asked for feedback and was ghosted. Any recommendation, or is this just expected? Brad, Kara, can we give Brad the feedback email or feedback video? First, don't ask for feedback. Number one, I'm going to tell you why. Number one, you're asking people for feedback that don't know you, that have spent an hour or less, and even if they said, oh, Brad, well, we didn't hire you because your answers weren't detailed enough. You're going to go somewhere else and you're going to make your answers super detailed, and they're going to say, you just couldn't get to the point. So don't do any of that. There's nothing wrong with you. The fact that they didn't want to hire you is their problem, not yours. Yes, you could perform better. Yes, you could articulate your stories better. Yes, you might be able to highlight your skills better. But I'm not asking them for feedback. And then if I ask them for feedback and you insist on doing this, then don't expect them to actually be honest with you, because it doesn't behoove them to be honest with you. They gain nothing by giving you feedback. Now, if you get down to the end and I really like you, but I liked somebody else a little better because they had something I really needed and you didn't have it, at least as much as they did, I might say to you, hey, Brad, this is great, man. You're a super dude. This person just had a little bit more of this than you did. So we ended up going there, but I'd love to stay in touch, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's fine. But I wouldn't chase the feedback. But I have a video on all this where I more eloquently take you through it. Wayne's email. Happy birthday, Andy. Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate that, my man. Position aside, would you stay consistent and deep with one or use multiple of your great 8 when crafting a story? So there's nothing wrong with including multiple great 8 items in a story, but you don't tell a story and say grade 8, 1, 2, and 3. It's, we had a revenue generation problem. We had a market opening problem. We were losing money. We were ineffective. You don't need to explicitly say, and I'm checking off these 3 of the grade 8. So I don't even think of it that way. I think of it as, what's the problem or aspiration? What's your methodology? Give me some detail. What happened? What happened and what happened at the beginning and at the end? And so one thing I would say to you, Wayne, actually, I didn't make this announcement today, but one thing that I would hope all of you would sign up for is my car technique job interview workshop. It's free. It's 2 days. It's September 10th and 11th. Kara, can we add that in the chat? It's free. We're doing it on Zoom. Okay, so don't come to live office hours those days. I'm not here. I'm on the Zoom. You need to register, and we're doing it in a Zoom room. And the Zoom room actually, it has limited seating, so show up early. But it's going to be really great. We're going to break it up into 4 pieces, and we're going to take you through each section of the storytelling technique, and we're going to role play. I'm going to teach. We're going to role play. I'm going to teach. We're going to role play. Same thing the next day. So it should really help you. Jeff A., how are you? Interviewed with a contract recruiter for a big company I interviewed with before, different departments. No 2 recruiters. He said you're well known here. Felt positive. Thoughts on the comment? I have no thoughts on that comment because I don't know what to make of that. You're well known here. So it doesn't, I would rather he have said you're thought highly of here. But I'm guessing now you got to remember something. And I talk about this a lot. There's 100% of communication. Albert Moravian, personal code of communication, through all the studies and all the evaluations, 7% are the words used, 38% is the tone, and 55% is the body language. If I said, Jeff, oh, you're well known here, then it's good. If I say, Jeff, you're well known here, that's not good. You got it? So I don't know what and how it was said. And if it was email, you don't know how it was said. So I wouldn't lose any sleep over this. Rachel, do you have any frameworks or advice on streamlining your personal career brand across multiple platforms and people interviews, especially when you are applying to a number of roles? So first thing is your brand is your brand. It needs to be one cohesive brand. If you have two brands, it's going to be impossible for them to know which one you're better at, and therefore you're going to dilute yourself. So it's kind of like that expression, he who chases two rabbits catches none. It's true. So you need to figure out what your bread and butter is and advertise that. But you know what we're going to do for you, Rachel? I have a personal branding session inside my resume writing workshop. It's a bonus. And if you're interested, I will give that to you for free if you don't have it. Or if you don't want that, you can pick another $500 course. And everybody here is eligible to take an extra $400 off my boot camp. So either which way, and the boot camp has everything, or the job search coaching program has everything. But I would try that. And you need a unified brand, and it's not multiple platforms is not the issue. And I like my brand is I am a career coach. I teach on job searching and career development because I want my brand to be singular for you, that anything related to your career, your domain expertise, and that only applies to some of you, you can get with me. So I want you to have the same kind of approach. So it isn't really about the different platforms or the roles. I mean, you should have a singular brand. If you're going to highlight different skill sets depending on the type of role it is, that to me, it can be done in your resume, and you could reshape your career profile as well as the highlights you choose to do that. So let me give you one more piece of advice. So one of the things that I teach in the resume writing workshop is there is a very, very critical piece of the resume, which is the top half of the first page that has your career profile, which is your executive summary, and the highlights you choose to bring forward to the top. When you are looking at a role, if one of the roles, here, let me just take some extreme examples. Let's just say you can sell work and you can deliver the work, whatever it is, just generically say this. If the role you're going for is more sales oriented, then your highlights up top need to be more sales, customer service, and so on. If your role is more delivery focused, where you're going to be serving a customer, maybe it's customer service, delivery of whatever, and operationally how you're doing it. And so what you're doing is you have experience across the array, but you're making it more, you're putting more emphasis on the thing that matters more to them, not you to them, up top. And so you can do that. And I do that with a number of people that I coach that have multiple functions that they're very skilled at. So that's something. And if you grab that resume workshop that I'm now giving you for free, if you don't have it already, I do go into this in there, and I think that will really help you. So that's a free $500 gift, and that's better than a sharp stick in the eye for the birthday. Okay, let's see. Any other books that you recommendations? Mark Manzanares, thank you so much for sharing those tender personal moments that show us a bit of how we get the Andy we all know and love. Mark, I cried a lot less than I thought I was going to. And I did a good job of masking some of that I really held back. You cannot know how deeply those things cut. But thank you. I appreciate that. You just don't know. You can't. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. But I do appreciate that. All right, wait, anybody got any other books for me? I'm loving it. All right, Rachel, awesome. Grab that. See, any of you whose names I called out, email support@milewalk.com. Kara probably has been telling you this in the chat. Support@milewalk.com to claim your prize. And then if you're interested as well, we're giving anybody who wants to get in it, often we'll discount the boot camp up to $300. Today, we're going to do it $400 if you're interested. It's really a great program. My goal in life is to create something that is valuable in relation to the cost. It's not to create cheap stuff. It's to create high value, reasonable cost stuff. And so, but if you can grab it for a little extra off, take advantage of it. But we are going to be strict on the deadline. So, because we don't do this very often. So you got to act. We want people who are committed and get in. All right. What else? We got any other? I know this was kind of a different one than usual, but we all need to, kind of break the chain. We all need to, kind of look at things a little bit differently. I wanted to show you some things that were meaningful to me, but also wrap them into lessons. I know you all have great personal stories. It may not feel like it all the time, or it may not feel like it right now, but you have a lot to offer. And if things are not working for you, if you're not getting the results you want, there's something broken, meaning with the process, not with you. And so that you've got to continue to search for that and try new things. Cool. Okay, I am a bit hungry, so I got to get to lunch, not to mention get my dogs out. I do hope that you enjoyed the book stuff. The zebra code, by the way, if you grab it from Amazon, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. If you do grab the zebra code, email us the hardcover only, the receipt, and we will give you $250 in free leadership lessons. They're really cool. One's on self-awareness. One's on overcoming imposter syndrome. One is on crafting compelling messages. And then we also take you through the skill building process and show you how your skills are associated to your earning power. So it's really good. I've loved pulling that together for you too. All right. I'm sure I forgot a lot of stuff today that I'm going to watch this and go, I wish I would have said that. But you know what? It's okay, because I'm going to be back next week on the 4th. I hope anybody who's celebrating Labor Day in the U.S. has a great time. Please share this with people. People need help. You know where to find me. Keep an eye on your inboxes for my newsletters coming out. I guess the next one's Tuesday. All right. Love y'all. Be good. Those of you got those free gifts, support@milewalk.com to claim your prize. We'll see you next week.